All right, let's finish chapter 8. The guard produced a huge set of keys from her pocket, located the right one, and unlocked the cell door. Corrie stopped coughing long enough to crane her neck for a look inside. Crane. To stretch one's neck forward toward, I'm sorry, to stretch one's neck toward an object of attention. Crane. The cell was no longer than a full-sized bed, and 3 women were already in it. The guard pushed the woman inside and slammed the metal door shut. The sorry procession continued on. Only one woman was dropped off at any cell, never 2 or 3 together. Corrie's heart sank. She guessed it was deliberately done so that no 2 women from Harlem were together. Unless there was a miracle, she and her 2 older sisters would soon be separated. And so they were. First Betsy was deposited in a cell, and then Nolly. She squeezed Corrie's hand one last time before being pushed into a cell. There were only 3 women left in the line when Corrie's name was finally called. Corrie coughed and stepped into the cell. The guard yelled in after her, "Get off that bed and give it to this one. She's sick." Corrie stood with her back against the wall and adjusted her eyes to the light of a single bulb. Running along the right side of the wall was one narrow cot with a thin mattress covering it. On the floor beside it were 3 straw-filled pallets. Spread out as they were, the pallets took up the entire cell floor. Under the cot was a metal bucket with a lid and basin containing gray water. "Sick? Don't come near me if you're sick." Does that sound familiar? Stop that, Marcia. Mrs. Corbett. "Sick? Don't come near me if you're sick," screeched the old woman in a tattered green dress who was lying on the bed. "We're going to die in here soon enough without your diseases." Corrie kept standing with her back against the door. She had no energy, and unless someone made room for her, there was nowhere else to go. "Come on, Frau," she heard the young woman on the floor say to the woman on the bed. "I'm sure she's not that sick." As if to contradict her, Corrie had a coughing fit. She could hear her chest gurgling, and she couldn't catch her breath. Eventually the coughing stopped, and begrudgingly the older woman rolled off the cot onto the floor with the other 2 women. "I'm so sorry," Corrie tried to apologize, but the younger woman stopped her. "That's all right," she said soothingly. "Welcome to our cell." Corrie smiled weakly as she lay down. A billow of dust rose from the mattress along with the stench of urine. Corrie gagged and rolled onto her back. Slowly her eyes grew heavier and heavier until she fell asleep. Clang! Clang! Corrie awoke with a start. Where was she? What was that noise? "Hurry up," urged a voice from below her. "Pick up your plate off the shelf or you won't get any food." Corrie took a deep breath, and the memories of the night before came flooding back to her. The older woman in the green dress pointed towards the door. Corrie crawled to the end of the cot and reached down. A small flap had been unlatched in the front of the door, and 4 plates of gruel were balanced on it. Gruel, soft food made by boiling meal of grains in milk or water until thick. Kind of like oatmeal, maybe? Kind of like oatmeal. Or grits. She looked at it for a long time. It was a watery gray color with specks of something brown floating in it. She bent her head down to smell it and recoiled. Quickly, she handed it to the woman in the green dress who had already gobbled hers down. "Here, eat this," she said. "There's no way I could." "Want to bet?" said the old woman. "They all say that when they come here, but after a day or 2, they're gulping it down just like the rest of us. You'll see." The woman was right. By the time the gruel arrived the following morning, Corrie was ready to eat it. There were no windows in the cell, so the days were counted by the arrival of the food each morning. From there, the day followed a dull routine. Around midday, the metal flap in the door was swung open again, and 4 slices of brown bread appeared. About an hour later, a key rattled in the lock, and the door was cracked open. One of the women handed out the toilet bucket, which someone sometimes had overflowed onto the pallets. The dirty water basin was also handed out and came back with fresh water. The toilet bucket was returned empty, along with 2 squares of toilet paper each. Does that sound familiar? People wanting toilet paper? Inside the cell, the women tried to be as polite to each other as possible, but each one was living her own personal nightmare. The youngest girl, who had spoken kindly to Corrie the night before, told her she was a baroness whose father had refused to serve in the German Navy. She spent many hours each day pacing up and down the cell, 6 steps, turn, 6 steps, turn. She hardly ever sat down, and when she did, she would put her hands over her face and weep. The old woman in the tattered green dress announced she was a cleaning woman who had not reported that a Jewish boy was living in a house she cleaned. She told the Gestapo she hadn't known he was there, but it had made no difference. The third woman spent hours at a time sitting with her right ear on the metal door. "What is she doing?" Corrie asked the old woman in the green dress. "Information," she replied. Corrie looked puzzled. "She knows what every sound means in this hellhole," the old woman went on. "She can tell you if it's the matron walking past or a guard. She can even tell you which cell they stop at and how many people they take away. She gets it dead right every time. It's uncanny." As if to prove the point, the third woman, still with her ear to the door, whispered, "Someone in 316 is being led away by a guard. They're headed towards the west wing. Third time this week. I wonder what's up." "Amazing," said Corrie with genuine admiration. She herself was good at listening. Sometimes when a watch was not working right, she would listen to it carefully for a minute or two to see whether she could hear the problem. But this woman was truly remarkable in her listening abilities. "How long have you been here?" Corrie asked her. 3 years, maybe a bit longer," was the reply. Corrie's heart sank. 3 years? The Germans would keep a person locked up for 3 years without seeing sunshine or feeling the wind, and without a bath or a book to read? Poor father. Poor Betsy. Corrie groaned as she sat wearily on the edge of the cot. She wondered how long she would be locked in a cell. And that's the end of chapter 8.